So, all right, I'm here with Duncan from the Newsboys. How's it going today, Duncan?
I'm doing great, Reggie. Doing great.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and, I guess the first thing let's talk about, you guys are on the Winter Jam West Coast Tour right now. You guys were on the Winter Jam Spring Tour this year, and I think the last few years. How's the tour going right now, and what keeps bringing you back with Winter Jam?
You know, it's such a great experience, Winter Jam. I think what it is for the fans, I call them the punters, which is a very English term, but for the fans, it's kind of, 10 bands for $10. You kidding me? I think a lot of people are kind of hurting now right now. I know money's tight for a lot of people, especially families, and because of what we do, we really do cater to families. So I think it just makes it all affordable where, instead of paying $25 a ticket, they can come to Winter Jam, see 10 bands for $10, and if they don't like one band, hey, just wait around, there's going to be one that you do. So I think as far as the value for the fans goes, I just think it's an incredible night out. If you got, your mum and dad and two kids, for $40 you can go out instead of 100, you know what I mean, or 120, 150. So I think it's that too, and it's a great family. I mean, we get to, I think the Winter Jam earlier this year. I guess I'll call it Winter Jam East for the best part. We got to play in front of 530,000 people. So as far as any band, it really is exciting to get to play in front of that many people, and and for the fans it's great because they get so much value. They get so much value for their dollar. So I think that's kind of what kind of brings us back to Winter Jam. We've played Winter Jam the last 2 years, and I think for us it was important too, especially with the transition to Michael Tait. It was really important for us to get in front of a lot of people and for people to see actually what this new version of Newsboys looked like. So on so many levels, it just made sense for us to do Winter Jam.
Okay. So speaking of Michael Tait, his first album with you guys, Born Again, did insanely well in a lot of ways. It was really successful. Tell me a little bit about the Born Again album, because that's still, even though you guys have a new album coming out later this month, that album's still fairly new, fairly recent. So tell me a little bit about that album. What went into that one?
Well, that was, in a lot of ways, that was a very scary project because for the last 20 years, you're kind of convincing people that a certain band is the bomb, and then you've got to get to a certain point where you've got to tell everyone, hey, sorry, we were wrong, the new version's better, you know? You know what I mean? So, then you do a new record. We knew that it had to be great, you know what I mean? It's like, if it wasn't as good, if it was just as good as the last record, we felt people would have said, okay, they're done, they're over. So we knew, and before in the past we'd all written the songs in-house for the most part, and we'd had a lot of success with that, and we were very proud of that. I think we've had over 25 #1 hits in our industry. But with the Born Again record, we kind of threw all that out and just said, look guys, this record's got to be about the fans. It's got to be about something different than it has been before. Let's go find the best songs that we can possibly find for the fans. And that's what we did. We knew we had the talent of Michael Tait to sing the songs, but we knew we had to get the songs in. We knew the songs had to be great. And that's what we did. We worked with a dear friend, Seth Mosley, who's become a very dear friend of ours. And he, when you're working with a producer, you've got to work with someone that gets who you are. And Seth is definitely gets who Newsboys are. And which we were very lucky with, and he wrote some great songs for us. He was part of the team that wrote some incredible songs. So we kind of had to make that line in the sand. Like a lot of people said, "Oh well, your Newsboys are never going to be the same," and I'm like, you know what, you're dead right. They're not going to be the same. Hopefully it's going to be better. And I think I think we had something to prove. You know what I mean? I think right. We kind of felt that it had to be better than it had been before. But then within all of that, you don't want to push people too far to the point of, because, hey, what just happened to my band? You know what I mean? They're such a different band so it's kind of this juggling match between making it better, what you believe to be better, but then not going too far that most of your fans can't resonate with it. So it was kind of a juggling match between that, and I think we really achieved what we set out to do. Ultimately, it's about the song, as you know. The song's got to be great. Song is king. Song is #1. it's like real estate, it's location, location, location. Well, about being in a band, it's about song, song, song. And it really doesn't matter who writes it. Obviously, as an artist, you want to write as much as you possibly can to have your creative input. But this time we just said, man, it's got to be great. I don't care who writes. I don't care if my grandmother writes it. If it's a great song, it's on this record. So we kind of started out from that kind of thing. And I think it ended up being a kind of a great record for the fans. I'm very proud of it. Showcasing Michael, of course. That was the second record, God's Not Dead, with Michael. We really, it's really a lot of kind of more worship-orientated songs that done very Newsboys style. I think at our core, we're really a pop band. We're kind of a pop rock band. I've always been a kind of a sucker for 3.5-minute pop song, you know.
Right.
So and we kind of felt that a lot of our kind of favourites, we'd be sitting in church and hearing a lot of these favourite songs that a lot of people know and familiar with. You know, I remember thinking, man, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that drum groove. You know what I mean? I wouldn't arrange that song like that. I'd do it this way, you know. I think the great thing with that is, number one, people are going to instantly know 6 or 7 songs off the record. But number two, we get to do them in a form and fashion that really allowed our creativity to flourish and do it in a way that is very Newsboys. So I'm very proud of the project, and I hope you like it.
Yeah, I mean, Stacy sent that to me a couple weeks ago. I've heard it, and it to me, I think it has a lot of the same sounds that Born Again had in a lot of ways. And
it does. You're dead right. It's got a lot of that same kind of power that the Born Again had, but done kind of, you know, obviously done worship songs. So, you know, I've never, you know, I'm trying to kind of pull the lens back on this thing, but I've never been a guy personally that buys a worship record in the past and that plays it in my car. I've never been that kind of guy. But I've played this record. Of course, I'm biased, but I'm trying to be kind of, you know, I'm trying to pull the lens back and say, you know, but I've listened to this record at least 10 times over. Yeah. It's just like, I think because it's kind of a lot of worship songs done, but done in a very powerful way rather than, I mean, this is just my feeling, but I think a lot of artists have done worship songs in the past, but they kind of lack, to me, you know, what am I trying to say? They kind of lack power, or they kind of lack, you know, I don't know what the word is I'm trying to say.
I think a lot of worship albums that are released now, you know, a band will release a worship album and it sounds just like a worship album from another band. I mean, they're released so often, but nobody really reinvents.
No, it becomes white noise. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we've had so many of them just like, okay, here we go. Another band or another artist feel they have to pop out a worship record. Well, we didn't think like that. We had certain favourites of ours that we definitely wanted to change up and mix up and do Newsboys style the way we felt that they should be done, you know what I mean? And that's not to say anyone else's version isn't a good or better, but this is just the way that we believe, or we heard them, you know what I mean, as far as artists. And it's just worship stuff done in a very kind of powerful pop rock way. Right. That's the only way I can use to describe this.
Now, do you think that this is the first worship album that you guys have released since Devotion in 2004? Do you think that waiting so long in between worship albums added to you being able to just put more power into this one? Because it's not like you released worship albums back to back. You know, you released Adoration, waited a while, released Devotion, waited quite a while, then God's Not Dead is out. Do you think taking a break in between the worship albums really helped contribute to the power and making them better?
I think we've learned a lot in those 8 years or whatever it is since we made those records. You know what I mean? I think we know who we are now. I mean, we're a lot happier in our skin now than we've ever been. I think Adoration and Devotion, we kind of felt the pressure a little bit maybe of the industry and of the time. And I don't think, as though they had some incredible songs on those two records, I think we fell a bit short production-wise on those records. Looking back on them now, you know, I think we tried to kind of, you know, fit into a mold that we didn't really fit into.
Right.
And but I think with God's Not Dead, it was just like we thought, well, forget that. You know, we've been doing this for a long time now, and that's not to say we were arrogant at all. I'm not saying that, but it was just like, let's just be who we are. Let's be who God created us as a band to be. And I think we went into this project with that kind of frame of mind. And it's like, let's not pull any punches. Let's make the production big. Let's make the drums powerful. Let's do them the way that Newsboys would do it. And I think with this record, we just did that. And we actually came out with a better project, I believe.
Right. Now, you've been in the Newsboys for quite a while, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe from the beginning, is that correct? You're one of the...
Just about. I guess I was talking to a dear friend that's on tour with us now, Darren McLean. She's on a tour with us on Winter Jam right now, and she kind of asked the same question. I've actually been in the band 18 years. I joined in 1993. My first show was at Creation East in front of 70,000 people.
Wow.
So that was definitely a baptism of fire out there. But I knew the boys, and I grew up with the boys, so kind of vicariously, I kind of always felt connected to the Newsboys. I was kind of at some of the band's first rehearsals. So even though I wasn't kind of in the band at that point in time, I always kind of felt a part of it,
Like an unofficial member.
Yeah, kind of that feeling. I mean, we grew up. I mean, I knew the boys when I was 18, 19 years old, growing up in Australia, surfing every day, and these musician mates of mine started this band called the Newsboys. Actually, they called themselves the News when they first started. And back then, Huey Lewis and the News was big, and every time we play a show, people would yell out, "Where's Huey Lewis?" So oh my gosh, we've got to change our name. So we changed it from the News to Newsboys. There you have it. That's a little bit of there's a bit of insight there you may not have known.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now you've been in the band for 18 years, and you've been through. This is the third lead singer change that you've been through, and the band has really, really evolved. What has it been like to sit back and just watch the band evolve and go through everything that they have? And when Peter left a couple of years ago, and Michael came in. Was there ever a point in time where you just wondered, are we ever going to get back to the point that we used to be in?
Well, that's a great question. I think any band, any relationship does evolve. It grows. Obviously, when Peter made the decision to leave, it was incredibly sobering for us all. We were really faced with the reality. We were faced with, we were kind of really bankrupt on every level, and every level that a human can experience a bankruptcy. Kind of from the point of financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically, we were all just run down to the bone. And I think sometimes that's when God can do His work the best. And it was a case of, okay, well, God, we really believe that you've got more for this thing. We don't believe you've brought us over here from the other side of the world just to have it all fall over.
Right.
20 years later. We didn't believe that. And we really believe, I love what I do, and I think the rest of the boys too, they love what they do. I mean, there's no better job in the world for me. Yes, there is a sacrifice part to what we do, and that sacrifice is leaving your family, your children, and there are a lot of times I do not want to get on a tour bus and head out. I'd much rather sit at home and fester in my own house, and stay with my family, spend some time with my wife. But the sacrifice part of what you do is you leave your family and you go and do what you believe you're called to do. And we believe that in our hearts. And that kind of empowered us a little bit at the time to go and ask Michael Tait, who we'd met actually, by the way, when we first ever came over from Australia. We met DC Talk. They were just getting going. We were just getting going. And we actually toured with DC Talk for about 18 months on the New School Jam. And it was because of that relationship that we formed. It's an incredible story. Because of that relationship that was formed those many years ago, that really allowed us to ask Michael Tait to come and be a part of the band, some nearly 20 years later. So it's a great story still being written, and that's what gives me confidence to make a statement that I really believe the best is yet to come for Newsboys.
Okay. Awesome. So it sounds like, when you released Born Again, the title of that album was kind of like a statement that, this is a new chapter, we're not gone. We, the Newsboys, are back, and we're, born again,
Absolutely, no doubt about it, and we realised that, and it really was, in very many ways, a rebirthing of who this band is.
Right.
But this was probably one of the more monumental changes. You know, sometimes you can change out a guitarist or a bass player or whatever, and it doesn't have as much impact. When you change a lead singer, that tends to have a lot more impact. And
right.
we knew it was that, and that's why we knew that, okay, Newsboys 1.0 is done. We knew that was over. That was an incredible part of our history in our lives. I would not take back 1 second of that. But the line was drawn, and this is the start of Newsboys 2.0, and I'm incredibly excited. I mean, Michael is such an incredible performer. He's incredible talent. I mean, the guy could sing a phone book, and you know, I could listen to it. You know what I mean? He really is that good. He can sing Nat King Cole. He can sing pop. He can sing rock. He can sing with an orchestra. I mean, across the board, the guy's just so talented, and that gives me confidence moving forward too, to know that we've got a guy that no matter what we do, now we can do a Christmas record. You know what I mean? We did our first Christmas record actually last year. You know, I think before we never felt that confident to do one, but now with Michael Tait on board, it's just like, oh my gosh, you know, we can do all these things now that kind of makes your appeal broader than just being kind of, okay, well that's Newsboys, they're a pop band, that's who they are. Well, yes, that's who we are at our core, that we can branch out and do these other things now with Michael that we may not have been able to do before. So we're very excited.
Right. I mean, I remember when I was in high school back in like 2003, 2004, you guys were touring a lot with the Choir of the Fire back then. I actually saw you guys way back then with the Choir of the Fire over in Indianapolis and all those cities out there. And then I got to see you again back in March in Evansville, Indiana with Winter Jam, and you know, it was just amazing to see how far, you know, what's been going on with you guys and with the band and all of that stuff. It's just amazing to see, just, you know, so to say, bouncing back from kind of a low point where the band was to being just absolutely amazing again. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think the Newsboys show today is better than it's ever been. I mean, as far as the performance from all the guys, as far as the songs, I mean, the show, the production, I mean, it really, I mean, I've been in this thing for a long time now, and I've been through many tours. I've seen it all. I mean, we've had spaceships come out of the ceilings, you know, we've had all sorts of, you know, huge microphones doing their thing. I mean, we've had so much stuff over the years that literally, if you love the band, you've got to come out and see this show. Well, I mean, we're bringing, you know, we're all flying around the auditorium at one point in the night. You know what I mean? Jody, he's flying around. Or Jeff Frankenstein, he's flying around. Michael Tait, he's going, you know, 25, 30 feet in the air. I'm doing my thing. So it really is, as far as production, as far as visually, it's a lot more like an MTV award show rather than an old, you know, what you might expect from an old school kind of tour, you know, or Christian band, so to speak. I almost don't like to tell people that, because that they kind of get this image of, you know, something being second rate. But the Newsboys show is definitely not that. It's as good as we can possibly afford. And we've always been a band that's really enjoyed doing that. We've always been a band that's really always pumped a lot of money back into our production.
Right.
Because ultimately, it's you know, we're a band for the fans, and obviously, you know, we live well and we do well. But over the years, we've been very aware that the show is number one. The show comes first. I think especially now, there's really money in making music anymore because no one's buying records for the most part. So I think now the last thing we have now is our live show. And Newsboys has always been really about their live show. I mean, we've made records, but the show always sounded better. I don't know why that is. We've always been one of those bands. We'll go cut a record, it'll sound great, but then the live version always sounds better. It's happened to us for the last 15 records we've made. I don't know why that is. Maybe if it's just us or whether it's for any band. I know some bands sound exactly like their CDs. Some bands don't sound as good. But we've been one of those bands that always sound better than our CDs for some reason. And I'm kind of proud of that fact. And you know, obviously the God's Not Dead record is no excuse to that. I mean, we're already playing 2 songs. The album hasn't even released yet, and we're playing 2 songs off the new record, and people are just freaking out. So I'm very excited.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I really I really want to thank you for taking time to talk to me. It was absolutely amazing and joy and an honor to have you on the phone with me for this time. And
awesome.
I really want to thank you, and I'll let you get back to your day.
All right, now interview number 5 coming up. Here we go.
Oh yeah. Have fun, man.
All right, thanks, mate. We'll definitely come and find my Facebook page, my fan page, and post that link.
You got it.
All right, mate.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you.